Australia has a lot of government and a small population.
Yep.
So that the government is very controlling of the citizens, and that's one of the things I've discovered.
Well, you know, that's been to be very
And all the agencies that you report things to
are corrupted.
Are supposed to like independently represent the citizen and investigate things, but they don't. They just cover for each other.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, if I can speak to normal people and they can get it, how can people that work at corruption agencies that are trained to look out for people like me and you know, like, how come they don't get it? Like, and they just go boom, you know, like. But everyone else that I speak to now, because I've got it so well put together, I've got loads of documentation, and the bottom line is that, you know, if they don't get it and that's what they're qualified to do, then it shows that they're totally corrupted.
And they're being paid by the taxpayer to not actually properly investigate things.
And then when I complain, basically they say they're going to raise my medication for making a complaint to stop me from my progress into my fight for justice. You know.
I'll just introduce you to the public. This is Alex, and Alex has had experiences. Alex is a successful businessman and has property investments. And as a result of some of those, mostly as a result of your business activity, and
with a building company,
that he's engaged difficulties with certain aspects and certain people. Did you want to talk about specific things? What did you want to start with? It's up to you what you want to start with.
Well, I think I should just generally tell the story where basically I was involved in a building company, and basically those people, my partner...
It was your building company?
Yeah, I was a director, and my partner was another director, and basically he seems to be involved with the police as an informant and connected to senior ranking police officers directly, and basically he stole my money in the building company, and just before they would purchase the house, and he took off, and like he hasn't contributed to the house since in 2000.
The house is in Vic Park?
Yeah, it's in Vic Park on 107 Burke Street, and the bottom line is that I'm dealing with an extortion racket that's well drilled, and it goes all the way through corrupt lawyers to psychiatrists to prostitutes to like, you know, like all the way down to the line to, you know, like the government agencies that seem to be here to stop the corruption.
And that man that was the director of the company that you was a partnership, that's where it started, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Has interest people in the police force who are helping him to try and steal your property, or not?
Yeah.
You can't sell the property.
It's sort of like extortion, basically. It's based on the like if I can't basically pay the mortgages, etc., and keep up with it, because I'm paying his share as well, obviously. The bottom line is that he will collect, because like here's his name on the title, and that's a big thing in there.
His name's on the title, but you went to a lawyer to sell the property or resolve the issue. What happened? I went
to 3 lawyers, and all 3 lawyers from which if I was to explain each case individually, were corrupted, and I can prove that pretty much beyond a shadow of a doubt by the police, while they were meant to be acting to go against the police, being the policeman's best friend. There's his name on the title. And
did you want to name the law firms? Or?
The first one was Alex Palumbo, who quietly worked for the same firm as the opposition and didn't even disclose that to me. So my lawyer...
Conflict of interest.
Yeah, major conflict of interest, particularly when like, he was saying stuff like he's got to go down the other side of town and speak to this lawyer, when they actually worked at the same firm. He was also disbarred while he was acting for me for cocaine use, etc., etc. So his corruption is already proven before I can even get there, but the fact that he's worked for the same company. The second lawyer was also referred to me by the same guy that was referred to me to the first lawyer, a guy called Mark Shepherd, and the bottom line is that they took $25,000 off me, a guy called David Sash from Jackson McDonald, and basically when I said to them that they took my case totally south and took it to a place where it assisted my opposition to liquidate the properties, etc., which wasn't what I wanted, and I made clear instructions on that.
What were the instructions that you gave?
Well, the instructions were that I wanted the property back because Mr. Johnson hadn't put any money towards it, and quite simply, and like, you know, he had no right
to have his name removed from the title.
Yeah, he's put put nothing into it, so I mean, I don't think anyone expects to get a mortgage house for free, you know. Like.
That's right. So, what in regards to that property, what do you want? What's your resolution?
I think it's clear cut that it's my property. I've put all the money towards it. Mr. Johnson's acted deceitfully with the police, and now that's connected to psychiatrists, and that they're involved in my when I've been admitted to hospitals.
Because the police went to the psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Did you go to a psychiatrist of your own free will in the beginning?
No, never.
So he's never been to a psychiatrist of his own free will, but the police forced them to treat you?
Forced
you to go to a psychiatrist?
Yeah, the story was that basically I was told that by my son's mother who attended my house that my son had an accident and he had head injuries and he's dying in hospital, etc., and etc. And she left the house, and I can't explain why, but she didn't tell me which hospital it was at. She actually sideswiped my car and smashed my windows of my car, and left here saying, "I'm not telling you where he is." And I was quite disturbed, obviously thinking that my son was injured and dying.
Yeah.
So I rang hospitals that night, and the first thing in the morning I went to the Kensington police station and told them, "Look, here's the boy's mother's number. I don't want to report her for any crimes. She's done this to my car, etc. But she's told me that my son's injured and dying, and I want to contact her." And the police told me that they weren't prepared to contact the boy's mother and ask whether my son was dying. And then I went home and I said, "That's disgusting. I may have said a curse, not personally to them, but just gone, the F word."
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, it wasn't personal, and there's no comments there. I came home, and 3 hours later, Bentley Hospital with police took me to Bentley Hospital, and I was sitting in a mental institution while I was trying to work out whether my son was dead or alive and dying in a hospital.
So they contacted psychiatrists and they put a community treatment order on you and forced you into a psychiatric facility.
Yep. And I was assessed within a 5-minute conversation, and that conversation involved whether I took drugs, not whether I took drugs. They told me I took drugs, and how I purchased drugs, and etc. Considering I don't have a drug record, I have a possession of cannabis record. And then also when I was finished seeing the doctor, I walked into the main area of the locked ward because I was in a locked ward. And the bottom line is that the head nurse there, Maggie, told me that I was a huge drug dealer, and I'm dealing to all bike clubs in Western Australia. And the bottom line is that
that's not true.
No, I've got no history of that. There's no record, and the bottom line is they totally defame my character.
Yeah.
And
so they lied and defamed.
Yeah. So the police,
character and integrity.
The police that were pretending to be concerned about my well-being have just gone and told them at the same time that I'm a drug dealer when they dropped me off, basically, and shown great malice.
Did you want to name your police officers or no?
Because I can't really particularly name the police officers because I don't really know which ones they were, but the main police officer that I'd like to name is George Loverock, who's the partner of the building companies. They were good friends, and the bottom line is that when I bring that to the attention of George Loverock's friend, my business partner that ripped me off, when I bring it to his attention, well, the bottom line is that he said that basically they were friends. But when he got divorced, George Loverock tried to pick up his missus, and they had a big fallout, and that is untrue now. So basically, he tried to deny. I caught him red-handed, and he tried to backpedal and come up with an excuse, but he didn't. He didn't deny knowing him though.
Oh, okay. But he denied that any wrongdoing.
Yeah. But which is what he had to do.
Yeah. Did you try to report this to the CCC?
Yeah, I've been to the CCC and. I produced a handbook that involved the police officers that were selling heroin, etc. Because I've had a huge police operation on me, which is absolutely enormous for the last 10 years. I estimate over $1 million has been spent on me. 1 year alone, me and my neighbour estimate on attendance to my house nearly $100,000 plus. I'm just coming to my house like at times 30.
So in the past 10 years, they have been harassing you?
Oh, big time, massive. I've had raids of my house, and basically I've had 30 TRG officers raid my house with semi-automatic water rifles and come here like madmen, and basically
because of false allegations.
Oh, because of allegations, and I've never been charged in the 10 years. I've got breaches of restraining orders, which is basically me catching these people that are involved in this conspiracy, catching them out, and when I bring it to their attention, they get a restraining order, even though there's been no acts of violence on my part, etc., etc. And apparently, I've been told by the hospital that the police consider me to be on one of the most highly dangerous level of criminal, etc.
So they've
With no
engaged
record
an enormous amount of defamation.
Oh,
You
big
don't
time.
have a record,
Yeah.
and it's over a property
Yeah.
because of a business partner
Yeah.
whose name's still on the title of the property in Beck Park, and the police officer involved who's causing this.
Yeah. And I bring all this to their attention in 2006, and they said I could have my house back. We went to their lawyers. They ran to their lawyers scared. Made an offer that I could have my house back, and for no, I didn't have to give no money, no, etc. Because I put in all the money, and the bottom line is that proved 100% that my theory was 100% correct in 2006, and after I think 6 weeks after that, I was institutionalised in a mental institution after bringing out this information.
And the police organised that?
Yes.
You've never taken yourself of your own volition, of your own free will, to a psychiatric practice?
No,
the police forced it?
Yeah, the police, on every occasion the police take me to the hospital. Like I on my computer do search police corruption stuff, and I've actually learnt techniques, etc., to out police informants using the computer, and also police networks and Facebook, and because the way they form in the real life, they actually form on the computer, and you can I actually learn methods to capture them, and
it's like organised crime, really.
It is organised crime. It's like organised crime is crime organised by the police, so you don't get captured. That's why it's the big wheel. It's the big wheel.
And they had you locked up in Bentley psychiatric facility for how long?
I've been there, I think, nearly locked up on 6 different occasions. On each occasion, I can prove for the most corrupt reasons. I can prove for one example, I do lots of digital recordings, and basically I rang up my psychiatrist and explained to her an event that took place at a police operation in Dongara, and I just come back from, and the police try to set me up with my advocate, who I'm suggesting is a police informant as well, and basically she tried to set me up, and basically I returned and I spoke to my psychiatrist, and he said that because my car broke down, I could return a week later, and I was a week late for my CDO for my injection, which I'm forced to take. And
so you're being forcibly drugged.
Yeah.
And you were forced to go to a psychiatrist because the police forced you.
Yeah.
And you said you've been locked up 6 times in Bentley Psychiatric.
Yeah, roughly.
Same one?
Yeah, roughly 6 months, yeah.
And 6 months altogether?
Yeah, close to that.
And the longest time of any one incarceration, because that's what I call it, is locking people up against their will and forcing people to take so-called medical treatment is not medical practice. It's political and sociological what they do. And this is living evidence of it. That the police forced him, incarcerated him against his will in a psychiatric facility, forcibly drugged. How can anybody claim that that's legitimate health practice? It isn't.
It's organised crime.
And how many days was the longest one that you?
53 days, and basically 53 days, and which it also affected my son, where my son was living with me full time. My son was a straight A student, and basically they nabbed me from. I was doing absolutely nothing wrong. The police just come and grab me and drag me to Bentley Hospital, and basically my son, from a straight A student. 53 days I was locked up. He didn't attend any school for 53 days. His well-being, he was left, when they picked me up, they left him as a minor in the house on his own. Basically I complained about this and that. They couldn't find him for days. My son was bewildered, lost, because of all the corruption, and he's dealt with people that have been spies and
suffering.
Yeah, big time suffering, and at some stage it almost became his life was threatened by him becoming mentally not well, and doing some harm to himself.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Do you believe in God? Are you a Christian? Have you ever had?
My parents were Christian. My parents were Christians, and the bottom line is that I don't go to church every week, but like I think there's something there, and like I don't, you know, I just think like the Ten Commandments. Like I look at that and I think, well, if you're none of that, you're a good person, and I think it's.
Well, my theological view, because I've written a lot of literature about the Bible and stuff,
Yep.
is that atheist type people persecute Christians, people who've got Christian values and morals, and a lot of these people that are doing these sorts of things in our society are evil.
Yeah.
Because to hurt people like this is evil,
Yeah.
in my view.
Yeah.
And you're entitled to be left alone, have a business, and not be subject to extortion, to have access to a court. Did you even get a court hearing about your property?
No, nothing.
The lawyers did not get a
No,
hearing?
the lawyers did absolutely nothing. I've received all my money back from all my lawyers. The first one I never didn't get a cent off me. He got sacked from disbarred. The second one, $25,000 that I put in was totally returned. When I argued the point, they didn't want to argue it. They just gave me the money back, which is unheard of. And the third one, basically, he gave me his four-wheel drive and $10,000 cash he gave to me for being corrupt and involving me in a police operation which involved Australia's largest crime figure, Tony Mockball, for me to go over to Sydney, Melbourne to get protection because I was being surrounded by.
Who's Tony Mockball?
Tony Mockball is Australia's largest crime figure, like basically on the internet, and basically I was forced to go there to go get protection because I was facing heavy-duty characters trying to put pressure on me with the extortion of the house, and basically make me surrender at the house, which I'm not prepared to do and I'm not going to do.
And possibly I'm putting myself at risk as well by, but I want to support you. But what I want to say is that I'm a Christian teacher, and if anybody tries to hurt me, they will go to hell. So, when people speak out about issues, you can get threatened and harassed.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. In a sense, you're just trying to get your property back, and you've taken steps. But
I don't go to church, etc., but like I help homeless people. I've done lots of, there's lots of people around me that I assist. I'm a successful businessman, and I've been given a really good card, and I've been given a really bad card. And basically, I assist people with all sorts of stuff, and there's people all around me that I assist, and that's like, I do live like a Christian, and but I'm not, I'm not sort of.
You don't deserve this.
No,
you have not done anything wrong.
Because I'm the last person that deserves it, and like the bottom line is that I'm not going to stop fighting, and it's like this stuff just can't go on, and it's just clear.
Have you tried to contact politicians?
I've tried to contact politicians, and basically they've said that they've assisted me without doing absolutely nothing. They've actually been involved in my admittances when I've actually put that much pressure on them.
Who?
John McGrath, my local South Perth member, very disappointed in his actions, and
So John McGrath helped the police and the psychs admit you?
In my last admittance, yes.
Well, voters of South Perth, you get rid of that corrupt politician, because half of the politicians are corrupt as well. And they're allowing this to go on and on.
Yeah, I can't believe, at the start when I was trying to go to places and trying to find the key to get the answers or the person to get me out of this, I can't believe how widespread this is, and how basically they seem to know who I am before I walk in the door and make my complaint.
Most of the politicians in our parliament, there's 59 politicians in the lower house, and most of them are corrupt as anything. They don't help us, they're supposed to help the citizens, the voters and the constituents, and they actually, that one, if what you're saying is true, then they helped the police and the psychs lock you up. Well, that's evil to do that, isn't it? How corrupt is that? And historically, when you look at the work of policing, the work of policing is to protect and serve the citizen, Australian citizen. But now the government is using the police as an instrument or tool of the government. So it's wrong. That's not serve and protect, and it puts the police in a compromising position as well, because their role is to serve and protect the community, not to be an instrument or a tool of the government for wickedness and evil. And they are doing it by psychiatrists locking people up against their will and drugging them, by using the police for their own purposes as well. And it's corrupt. And all the voters across Western Australia should vote for independence and get new politicians in the parliament and get rid of our corrupt politicians who aren't helping us and who are causing problems for everybody by allowing the work of psychiatry to go on, locking people up against their will, and being forcibly drugged, and also using the police for their own advantage, not to serve and protect the community, and it's wrong. And they're drugging you by a community treatment order, which is a forced process, and they're injecting you with something, aren't they?
Yeah, every month I'm injected, and basically every day is a struggle to get out of bed. It takes away your motive, your actions, and like your drive is just totally taken away from you. For instance, one of my best friends died 2 years ago, and basically I didn't feel a thing. Like it was nothing to me. Like
Risperidone?
Yeah, risperidone, and now it's been changed to something else, but into a 1 month muscular injection.
It's been injected once a month with what you were being injected with risperidone.
Yeah.
Yep. Something else now? Yeah,
risperidone, and there's something else that's because they changed it from 2 weekly injection to a monthly one, and basically it's more or less rendered me impotent unless I use other drugs like Viagra, etc. Like
sexual dysfunction.
Yeah, etc. And they've known this for 2 years, and basically I've done nothing wrong, and the bottom line is, but I'm being handicapped, and like. Basically, like this is something that would drive the average person to probably try to kill themselves. I imagine.
The research evidence throughout the world is that those drugs do exactly that.
Yeah.
That they cause death, premature death, and induce suicide as well.
Yep.
And the point is, you're forced to be part of this process. If you wanted to not receive their treatment, if you said no, that's it, that's enough, what would happen?
I'd be locked up in a mental institution immediately and forced back on the medication, so that until
it's not medication, it's just chemical compounds.
Yes, and until I agreed to come out and administer to them.
And they would get the police to get you?
Yeah, the police are always involved. Like there's never been nobody, none of my friends, nobody out there has said that I've got a mental illness or thinks I've got a mental illness. I hope that, like, just in this video clip, I display that I'm not dumb, and I'm intelligent, and
you're being forced. Well, I have done an enormous amount of research on this, and I'm calling for a royal commission into the practice of psychiatry and what they're doing. And they're using the police. You go to a doctor in a hospital, a normal doctor like a general practitioner. Do they use the police in their work? If you go of your own free will?
No.
Well, of course they don't. He hasn't gone to a psychiatrist of his own free will. He's been forced. How is that considered medical practice? It isn't. It's political and it's sociological, and it's evil. It is cruel and inhumane, and they engage in cruel and inhumane treatments, human rights abuses, and force people with chemical compounds in the human body. And risperidone is not even soluble in water. And that's why it causes problems like sexual dysfunction. Because I'm an experienced phys ed teacher, health teacher.
Yep.
So I know a lot about it. Every one of those drugs is a chemical compound, and they destroy the health of humans. They destroy their health and their mental health. The practice of psychiatry is evil, and it has to be stopped. And this man's life is a living example of how he's been forced by the police and by death doctors, because that's what they are, criminals. The next thing, they go after your money, the next thing.
Well, that's what it's all about. They are after my money. And I've spoken to experts, Professor Brian Martin, that writes the thesis on Descent by Medical Record, is police corrupt psychiatrists to give a false diagnosis to discredit whistleblowing.
And who is that?
Dr. Brian Martin, and Professor at Whistleblowing University. And I also have...
what's his area of expertise?
This area that we're speaking of, corrupt psychiatry and crime.
Melbourne.
He's in Whistleblowing University.
New South Wales.
Yeah, he's also the vice president of Whistleblowers Australia, and I contacted him, and he said wow to my stories, and basically said he'd refer me to other members to assist me. So I'm recognised as being a whistleblower, and also Dion Giles, who's part of Brian Martin's Australia-wide Descent Network, who is also ex-member of a Murdoch University professor. And he assists me with writing.
Murdoch University professor, what's his name?
Dion Giles.
And he's been helping.
He's been helping me write emails and give me a bit of direction, etc. And these guys are professionals in the field that we are talking about, not in any other field, but the corrupt psychiatry and political.
Well, they're murdering my brother. The government is, and he's stolen all of his money already. And this is why I've got involved in helping people, because it's criminal what they're doing. The State Administrative Tribunal is helping them do it. The Public Advocate is not helping the citizens. The Public Trust is controlling billions of dollars of other people's money and forcing them to live on the street in homelessness. And half the people living in homelessness are having their money controlled by the Public Trust, and controlling their bank accounts. And it's very evil, and it's very criminal. These people should be locked up and jailed. They should be jailed for the suffering that they've caused, for the death that they've caused, for the forced drugging, for locking people up against their will, for stealing people's assets and money, crippling families, causing homelessness, suicide. It just goes on and on and on. It's so corrupt that they should be jailed, and that they should be, the practice of psychiatry should be abolished. It should be stopped. Because then the police can't use, the police, the evidence is another piece of it. The police using psychiatry or working with psychiatrists is not, and the judges as well, it's not legitimate medicine. It's not legitimate to lock people up against their will if they haven't had a court hearing. Have you ever had a court?
No, nothing.
So he's never even been before a court to give his side of the story, but yet they can lock him up against his will, drug him against his will, and engage in defamation, which is what they do. Like, they engage in huge amount of defamation against people, and their families. And they cause an enormous amount of suffering. And they're not going to get away with it. I'm a Christian teacher, and I can tell you right now that they are not going to get away with this, because they're going to go to hell. It is causing enormous problems in our society, and they've been getting away with it for so long. It's got to stop. And with the research I've engaged, the people personally that have come to me and spoken to me about, I have heard stories, similar experiences, not necessarily like with the police, but with people that have just been locked up, and they've got about 1,500 people locked. They just can't get out, and they just next thing you know, they go for your money and your assets. Do you want me to stop it, or?
That's all right.
So, other politicians. What other politicians have you contacted?
I've spoken to Mr. Johnson, who's been, I think, taken out of the police position.
Rob Johnson.
Yeah,
former minister.
Yeah, yep. I'm currently speaking to Helen Morton's office, and basically, I think I've spoken to them before, and basically the door just doesn't open. I don't get the chance to speak. Because I've got all the documentation that proves everything that I'm saying, and basically because I've got it and they know that I'm well equipped and can speak well for myself.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that they don't give me the opportunity, because I feel that, and it's written in the handbook that Brian Martin writes of how to get out of this problem that I've been following. It suggests that they don't give you the opportunity once they know that you've got all the material, simply because you can come back on them later in time if you can prove your thing and make them responsible, and put them like, why didn't they see it when you told them the story, when you presented it to them,
The politicians are helping them. They use psychiatry for their own purposes, in the same way they use the police. And Helen Morton knows exactly what I'm talking about. because she knows what they've done to my brother. And you are responsible. If a citizen goes to a politician and you don't help them, you are responsible. And Helen Morton is covering up death. She reported to the Parliament in 2006-2007 660 deaths in that period in West Australia as a result of psychiatric practice. Okay, that's just 2-year period, 660 deaths. So the politicians are covering up enormous amount of death and corruption and allowing this to go on and turning a blind eye. And the current mental health bill, the draft mental health bill, have you read it?
I've read the act, and basically it's like it's Loctite, and basically you got no say. No, you can't do anything. You can't.
The 1996 Act.
I'm not too sure which one. I know I've read
the Act in force, the current Act in force.
I've read parts of it. Yeah, it's pretty tight.
It's human rights abuses in my view, but that's nothing compared to the draft mental health bill 2011. They want to sterilise children in that bill, and they are proposing to sterilise children of any age. They are proposing to give children as young as 12 psychosurgery and ECT without the parents' consent, and they can take a child off a parent for 14 days without the parents' permission, and keep the parent for 30 days periodically without the permission. That's in the draft mental health bill. So psychiatrists are evil, they are first-class criminals, because how can you even propose to sterilise a child? And how can you propose to give cruel and inhumane treatments like psychosurgery and ECT to a child as young as 12? And how can you claim to be able to take a child off a parent without their permission for 14 days because you say so? This is going to stop, and there's going to be a Royal Commission, and there's going to be a criminal investigation. And I'm not going to stop until every person involved in this is brought to justice, including the politicians and including the psychiatrists, because they're letting it go on and on and on.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that.
And any corrupt police involved.
Yeah, and like all these people are people that doctors have a duty of care, police have a duty of care, and the bottom line is, and law enforcement, and they're actually acting as criminals. They know what they're doing the wrong thing. They are the worst kind of criminals there are, because they actually know that they are doing the wrong thing.
But what they're doing, the politicians and the judges and the psychiatrists, and I haven't had much of a problem with the police, but you know, like the police could harass me just for speaking about these issues. And I'll tell you what, you won't want to do it, because the fact is you're going to go to hell for it. And they are doing whatever they want, passing laws to oppress citizens in Australia and criminalising the population. So they'll pass whatever laws they want to pass to criminalise the population. And try and pass a law, a bill. If they pass this bill, they should all be locked up, those politicians, to take children off their parents and to sterilise children and give them ECT and a psychosurgery as young as 12. How evil is that? That is total control over the population and doing what you want to do to criminalise the population. That's not effective leadership. And there is a morality about everything that everybody does. You know, the people that are in positions of leadership, so-called leadership, teachers and politicians and doctors and lawyers and people like that, police, there's an accountability, and you have to act in a moral way. If you can't have morals and values and treat people with respect and dignity and respect their rights as citizens, you shouldn't be in those positions. You should not do a job like that. If you don't have morals and if you don't know how to respect people and tell the truth and be honest and help people, actually help people and encourage people and help people, you should not do those jobs. It's as simple as that. You know, the more I investigate this, the more it's just horrific.
It is. Yeah, because I mean, I've been dealing with this for 12 years now, probably 4 or 5 of them in the dark, but the rest I've been aware. And the bottom line is that, you know, sometimes it's surreal for me at times to believe, like, at times it's just like, you know, like the situation I'm in is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can't get out of it, when it's clear cut and it's obvious, it's just really disappointing.
So this started about 12 years ago.
Officially, yeah. The reason
over this property in Vic Park.
Yeah.
And the property's still in your name.
In both our names, but I've paid the whole mortgage, all the money towards it, and basically his share as well.
We need a judge to make an order, don't we?
Well,
we need a judge to make an order to say the title is in your name and that's it.
Well, I don't think anybody in Australia thinks that they can get a house for free, and basically, and I question George Loverock here right now, where basically, how do you as a police officer, senior police officer, have your best friend stealing a house off me, and you can just sit there and do nothing when you're well aware that I've made complaints, and like how does as a police officer your conduct and your friendship with Mr. Johnson, how can that, people, that's not acceptable.
So Rob Johnson was basically supporting them?
Rob Johnson referred me to the CCC, and basically the CCC were absolutely disappointing again.
Did nothing?
Absolutely nothing.
You reported it in writing?
In writing, yes, referred by Mr. Johnson, and basically from that point on, as the things grew and I became aware of other things, I had other things to report, and from that first report I've never been able to go in and report again. I've never been allowed back in there.
Yeah. Because they just cover for each other, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's us that suffers. I know as a teacher, they wrote reports about me and lied in reports, some government official, like a principal and associate.
Yeah.
And then when I sued the government in the district court, I had some success. And I got hold of all the reports as a result of the court action. And when I got the reports, I had to have a friend with me. The file was this thick from the state solicitor's office, and went through the report. Oh my God, what they've done to me, and my name and my character is so appalling, and the lies that perpetuated from these reports, taxpayer government officials, and when I sued them, I was just, and then they gave me $70,000 and a couple of published corrections. And the Director General of Education's involved. The minister's aware of what they're doing. The Colin Barnett was aware. They just let me suffer for 3 years.
Yeah, in silence.
Well, I was fighting in the court.
Yeah.
And then they forced me to sign a 7-page deed to shut me up.
Yeah.
We'll give you some money, Teresa, and a few letters of correction because they destroyed my name with the police. And then behind my back as a teacher, when I was innocent, students were verbally abusing me and they were throwing rocks at the sport teachers in school. And then they tried to make out that I was swearing at students, and it's just all lies. Which
is typical behaviour of dissent by medical record and things like that, where basically they discredit you and they basically put you in a world where you want to give up, or possibly are susceptible to not continue your fight.
Yeah. By lying and destroying your character and your integrity, and they says sign this deed and we'll give you a bit of money, compensation, whatever. But I've published it on YouTube already. So because I don't give a shit about your deed, in the sense that I will scream and yell and tell the whole world what you've done to me, and you all should lose your jobs for it. And people that do that should lose their jobs. As a teacher, if I write reports about people and lie in those reports, deliberately lie and make up stuff to destroy their character and their name.
What are you there for? What's your purpose if that's you? If that's how you act,
I would expect to be sacked.
Yeah, big time.
Or if you've got morals and values and a conscience, you don't do stuff like that anyway because you know it's wrong. So, it's how. The thing that upsets me, taxpayer-funded government officials getting paid to destroy people's lives.
Yeah, and I'm paying more tax than the average person as a, money earner, and the bottom line is this is how I'm being treated.
Whereas you should be just left alone, and this title, how do we resolve this issue with the title?
Well, I think that because of the blatant corruption that I can prove, and I've got tons of evidence that proves it, and the bottom line is I think that should be presented against these people and suggesting to them that basically they should sign over the title, because they've acted so criminally and crossed every boundary and acted with doctors. I mean, these people are on my minutes papers for being involved with me being admitted into the hospital, the same people that are involved with the house extortion. Now that sort of structure is beyond anybody's shadow of doubt. And like when I presented this in 11th of November or 17th of November 2011, my CTO was dropped on a loophole that the Bentley Hospital suggested that I hadn't seen my doctor for 4 weeks, and the bottom line is that the criteria of the CTO is that I have to do that to not breach it, and they let me go, and I was taken off the drugs, but it was at the same time simply because I presented the connection between these people and a boat accident that I had, which is also a method that these people were to collect.
Try to kill you.
Yeah, and they would have collected his.
So you want to talk about that boat accident?
Well,
they tried to kill him.
Well, basically, I had a boat accident in 2005. I deemed it very suspicious. I had a well-manned boat, and they were very particular about it and how it was rigged up and etc. And basically, when I took it up north and put it in the water the first time, me and my friend, it sunk 2 kilometres offshore. No, it didn't hit nothing. Basically, I've been told that when you put a hole in a boat, basically while it's moving, it causes a vacuum and the water doesn't go in, but when it stops, it will just come in immediately. And as soon as I stopped the boat after going 20 kilometres along the coast, I was lucky that it was a bit rough, because otherwise I would have gone straight out into the deep sea. And because I went along the coast, I maintained to be 2 kilometres offshore. And basically, as soon as I pulled the boat up, it just 30 seconds it was under. And me and my friend, we couldn't even grab our life jackets. We swam 2 kilometres ashore. And if I wasn't able to make that swim, they would have collected the house.
So someone fixed the boat and should.
Yeah. And then what happened was, 6 months later, I received.
Pretty corrupt. Doesn't get more corrupt than that.
6 months later.
Attempted murder.
6 months later, I received an anonymous profile on a Red Hot Pie dating site, and it suggested that apart from surviving a life-threatening incident, I was to get ready for some more fun. And basically, I traced that. I done a very clever investigation just by following logic and one clue that the person gave me in the anonymous profile, and basically I traced it to the guy that referred me to lawyers 1 and 2 when I was using my lawyers to try and get the property back. So the same guy is connected to my boat accident is also connected to the referral of lawyers 1 and 2. In both methods were to protect the property and to steal the property at Burke Street worth $1 million. So it's not just one method he's connected to, it's 2. And when I produced that, I got computer experts, IT experts that have written out reports that have viewed my investigation and conclude the exact same conclusion that I've come to, 100%, that the same person is involved. And the bottom line is that no one's interested in the information.
No one's interested in justice, or they did to Mr. DeHorse is pretty evil as well. They threw him in jail for 31 days and they tried to steal his property too. And that was over this guy in Beaconsfield. But they will steal your assets and money and property, make you homeless rather than, they allow homelessness. They do it to me for building a political party. They prosecuted me, fined me, and I've got to go to the Supreme Court to appeal. But they would rather, this is some government officials, steal your asset, your property, and make you homeless. That's how cruel they are. Yeah. That's how criminal they are.
Because they want me to die. I have no doubts whatsoever that if I was to die, they would be happy. Simply they would get to their conclusion of money for the house, some sort of monetary fee. And the bottom line is that I have no doubts about that. And they had no concerns about my son's well-being when he was mentally unwell and suicidal. The hospital was made very clear that it was because of all this stuff, and they were quite happy to let that go too. And we had to come to our own, knuckle down and basically sort out our own family crisis. And obviously, while we're fighting that we haven't got a mental illness, which I 100% don't have, the bottom line is
there's no such thing as mental illness. It's all political and sociological. It's all subjectively invented. Historically, if you look at the history of it, they do it to everybody. They say whatever they want to say. It's not based on objective medical assessment and testing. They don't do any
It's all on
Object-
models and stuff like that, isn't it?
Well, it's not on any objective medical assessment testing. It's all subjective.
Yeah,
So it's all invented.
yeah,
They make it up. It's actually the same thing. This is how medical it is. I'm a phys ed teacher, sport teacher, health teacher. Without doing any objective medical assessment test, I can go up to every psychiatrist and say, you're schizophrenic. You're absolutely crazy for the way you treat people. That's how medical it is. It's not medical in the sense that it's subjective, political and sociological. So I could go up to anybody in the world and say, this is what I think of you, this is what you've got, and I'm going to drug you accordingly. So they can actually label subjectively every human being on the planet now as so-called mentally ill. It's not medical, it's political and sociological, so that to apply force and control over people's life. They are really sick, crazy, what they do. They are. When you analyse and study what they do historically and up to what they're doing now, and murdering people with treatments, they murder people with their treatments, and they steal their assets and money.
yeah.
It's just the person that founded an organisation called a CCHR is a psychiatrist, an American psychiatrist.
Yeah, I'm aware of CCHR.
And he said psychiatry is the most destructive force to impact human society throughout the world over the past 60 years. That's how destructive they are.
And in court cases, criminal law and defending client, criminals and etc. The mental, whether you're mentally unwell, etc. is such a big thing as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, the evidence is they murder people with their treatments. So who are the criminals? If their treatments and practices result in death, 660 deaths in 1 year was reported by Helen Morton to the Parliament in 2000.
Well, my
But they haven't done anything about it.
My psychiatrist is supporting an extortion racket and a group that tried to tamper with my boat and attempted murder to steal $1 million property. The motive, the method is all there. And the bottom line is that when I caught them, they all ran to the hills, and then on the 11th of December I notified the guy of his identity, and basically on the 17th of November, before I was ever admitted into hospital, basically someone contacted Triage, apparently hospital, and it's on my records concerning my mental health before I was even diagnosed. I have no history there. So basically I believe that person suggested that I was mentally unwell, the person that needed me to be there. And then on the 28th of December, after me sort of trying to correspond with him, he finally replies to me and says to me that I should take Prozac and seek a counsellor. And basically, so he's suggesting that I've got a mentally unwell, even though experts have agreed that I've properly identified this guy, while he's suggesting it's not him. And he also suggests that we're not as dumb as we think. And he also knows my other profiles on the site, which is because my computer has been monitored. I created female profiles because I couldn't work out how they're monitoring me, so I created female profiles. And he says that in 11 days, this guy that's suggesting he's a stranger, even though I know who he is. The bottom line is he suggests that he knows my other profiles as being female, and suggests that the police are monitoring my computer, and it suggests that we aren't as dumb as we think. Like, how does a stranger do that?
Well, they are doing it because they've done it before to other people. They've done this to thousands of people. Over the past 50 years, I've worked out they have murdered about 20,000 people in Western Australia alone. And they are murdering people with their treatments and engaging in human rights abuses. And they have been doing it for so long that they've been getting away with it.
I've done research on psychiatry abuse and police corruption all over the world. And basically, there's test cases in India, Jamaica, everywhere in the world. It is a it is a method that they use all over the world, and also with media. So such a big part of the media. Basically, what they do is they do deals, and basically, people don't get media support, which I'm suggesting I've found very hard. Like my story is front page news, Australia wide as far as I'm concerned. If published, because we're talking about professionals and people that just that are involved with this thing, and the people that are meant to keep this area clean.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the accountability on the media is that And if they don't do that, they are failing in their job. They are not engaging in media, proper journalism at all. They are engaging in propaganda. So if they, with the politicians are allowing the psychiatrists to do this. That's really the accountability. But they use the media as well, the major media, to perpetuate their propaganda. It's propaganda. If you study journalism and what journalism is, it's objective analysis of an issue. It's both sides of the story and objective analysis. It's not biased and it's impartial. And if they are being told experiences or that humans have experienced and they're not going to report on it, then they are failing in their job, because it doesn't matter how outrageous or how an experience being told by a person seems. If there's evidence for what's being told, they should report it and investigate it and provide both sides of the story. So they should take Alex's view, and they also should ask other people who are involved their view too. Objectively report on it, and that would be right.
Yeah, my view has been viewed from a third party. The police gave my view to the doctors. I never gave my view, and basically on a third party's view of what my view is, police corruption, I've been assessed as being delusional disorder. Now I've got enough evidence that suggests that I'm not, that it's not delusional, and so how can they come up with delusional disorder? Now, once I put that to the doctors and understood what the disease I've been diagnosed with means, basically they then jump to schizophrenia, which is in the handbook of Brian Martin, is what they do, and also
it's political, sociological.
Delusional disorder also is a personal disorder, what's called a personal disorder, and personal disorders start from your very start of life to the very end of life. And basically, I've been diagnosed with my disorder at the exact time when I made allegations of the corruption and come out with it. And that's just...
It's a question of truth. If something has happened and you can prove it with evidence, it's a truth issue. And that's not delusional, is it? So what they're doing is subjectively they're lying. They can't prove that what has happened to this man is not true. The onus is on them to prove that, whether it's true or not. If someone gives an account or a report and provides evidence and it can be researched and investigated and it becomes true, well, it's not delusional, is it? The only people that are delusional are the people that are making up the allegations, and they're delusional.
And to act the way they have without hearing the allegations shows that they are in cahoots and they're working together, and they already know. Because the fact that they don't want to hear my story means that and immoral. There should be an onus where I can have a right to prove that I'm telling the truth. At no point have I been able to produce my story. Have anyone heard?
That's the Triple C is supposed to be able to do that too. But they're not.
But I think last year in last year's paper there was 389 police issues with corruption, etc. with the Triple C, and only one was acted upon. And that was the one with the guy that was caught with the taser. And it's simply the reason why that was done is because that was on video. They couldn't change that before the video couldn't be tampered, and that's why these people, that's why that one went through, because they couldn't. It was already a done deal, and they couldn't be tainted or squashed or changed before, and that's simply how it works. But otherwise, there's methods to change it or alter it.
Well, if the politicians are creating a society where they're allowing this to go on and on, they're accountable. That's where the ultimate corruption is, in my view.
Yeah.
And the police force, historically, has had a very important role in our society to protect and serve the citizen.
Hello? Hello?
Good afternoon, Dr. Narcissist of Death.
Hello, Queen Patient. Welcome. Come in and sit on my chair.
How are you today, Doctor?
I'm good. How are you today, Queen Patient?
I'm good, thanks. Mail? Where's your mail?
Oh, you've got my mail.
There's some mail for you. take that. What does your mail say? Westers Party elected to the lower house. Royal Commission into deaths, psychiatric practice to go back 50 years. Yes, Dr. Death. Now I've got you. Now that I've got you, Dr. Death, what's your drug? Doctor, what drug? Risperidone. Shh. What shall we give you today, Dr. Death?
Please don't drug me, please.
Risperidone.
I'm supposed to be in
5
control here.
milligrams. What did you say?
I'm supposed to be in control here.
Oh, okay.
You can't drug me.
Can't I? Venlafaxine, 5 milligrams. What about Paxil, 5 milligrams. And Celexa, 5 milligrams. And every other chemical compound in my arsenal. How are you feeling now, Doctor? Well, that's all. That's the drug cabinet, Dr. Death. It's empty now. We've got everything there. My name is Queen Patient of Arc. What's your profession?
I am a psychiatrist.
I am going to read your no rights and your rights. Dr. Death. First of all, the scroll of your...
Read me my rights first.
I will read your... I'm in charge here, Dr. Death. Queen Patient of Arc is in charge here, Dr. Death. How are your restraints?
Yeah, get me out of these right now.
I
Do
don't
it right now.
I don't think so. What we're going
You
to
have
do...
to. I said so.
Oh, is that right? Well, we're in a royal commission now, Dr. Narcissist of Death. So we're in charge now.
Where's my car keys? Where's my wallet? Where's my... Why can't I walk to the front door?
I will read your rights, Dr. Death. Here are your no rights. The scroll of the no rights. Number 1, no rights to visitations, phone calls, letters, and your own records, and no rights to personal means to communication.
You've got to be out of your mind. You're
2,
crazy.
no rights to human rights, respect and dignity. 3, no rights to freedom, free will, and to leave this facility.
Do it now. Give me my rights back. You can't take them like that. That's my power, not yours.
Dr. Death, this is a list of your no rights.
You can't do that. That's preposterous.
No.
Give them back now.
No right to removal of your straitjacket or restraints. No right to your own property.
Remove them now.
No right to free political speech and communication, and to know your rights under legislation. No rights to a lawyer or an advocate.
Give me my lawyer. Why want my lawyer?
No
you
rights.
can't do anything.
Your
in
family
school.
has no rights. No
yes,
right.
they do, but your family has no rights.
No rights to refuse treatment, Dr. Death.
Give me that syringe.
No,
I want it now.
No rights to refuse forced drugging of chemical compounds and forced incarceration. No rights.
You're the one who should be incarcerated.
No
not
rights.
me.
I
It's
am,
my job, not yours.
I am Queen Patient of Arc, and I am reading your no rights. No rights to protect your children. No rights. Your children have no rights.
My children, only your children have no rights.
No rights to refuse ECT and psychosurgery and other dangerous treatments.
Give me those electrodes. I want them now.
No rights to
Sit
control
down
your
so I
own
can
money,
electrocute
property
you.
and assets.
Oh yeah, where's my car keys?
You have
Where'd
no
they go?
rights to say no, Dr. Death.
Where's my car keys? Have you stolen
No
my
right to
car
refuse
keys?
sterilisation. to protect yourself from harm, abuse, control, force, torture, or slavery. No right to stop me getting the police to help me treating you.
Give me that phone.
No rights to stop cruel and inhumane treatments, forced orders, control and monitoring. No rights to protect your health, well-being and your mental health. And you have no rights to criticise my practice and or other government workers. Okay, now I'm going to read your rights. That was your no rights. Dr. Death? Are you still with us? Are you still with us, Dr. Narcissist of Death?
Huh?
Okay, good. You're still compos mentis. Here's a list of your rights. Your rights, Dr. Death. Here are your rights. Okay, Dr. Death, here are your rights. To be forcibly drugged with chemical compounds. Your right to remain silent, have all your property confiscated and to no outside personal communication. You have the right to be locked up against your will, deprived of your liberty as long as I want you to be, says Queen Patience of Arc. You have the right to have your money, property and assets stolen and controlled. You have the right to death, premature death and induced suicide. Dr. Death, you have the right to sterilisation, ECT, psychosurgery, barbaric treatments. I think that we need a bit more sedating. You have the right to endure pain, suffering, restraint, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, torture and slavery. You have the right to have your children taken off you. You have the right to ridicule, degradation and treated without human compassion.
Psycho.
You have the right to be subject to defamation.
Psychiatry.
To defamation of your family. You have the right to be subjected to extreme social distress, Dr. Death.
Psychiatry is my game. And
Dr. Death, you have the right to be subjected to eugenics,
What's your
selective
name?
breeding and human control.
Queen Patient.
To have your legal capacity and political rights destroyed.
Your name's
You have the right to be subjected
not
to
Queen Patient.
crimes against humanity and
Give me my
widespread
DSM-4 now. I want my DSM-4.
and the
Give
to
me
be
my
subjected to
DSM-4
crimes
now,
against
not
humanity.
Queen Patient.
and the
You're
widespread drugging
Not Queen Patient.
with
Give me my
chemical
DSM-4
compounds
now.
of all your fellow humans throughout the world.
Where's my DSM-4?